Well, we're starting off action-packed. Greetings, I'm Solidus-Skully, and welcome back to Resident Evil 0, where we're being attacked by the zombie dogs, and we've just slid through the vent that led us to this little compartment of the train. The back compartment. The caboose. The, ass of the train. Okay, enough filler commentary. I should probably be filling you all in as to what we're actually doing here. Well, in this case, since the train basically took off and we're separated from the rest of our Bravo team compatriots, yeah, basically we're looking for a way to stop the train! And also find a way to get off. Except, we ain't, cause Rebecca and Billy's adventures in Resident Evil Zero's ain't over quite yet. But yeah, going right through to the back of the train, we're going into the other way because we have a little surprise! Brains! But yeah, still need to release Billy, but yeah, there is also more puzzles and things to be found later on, and this does also introduce us to a mechanic that I never really found myself using. Probably a little bit more useful on the normal and hard modes when supplies are a little bit more limited, but yeah, you saw in the previous compartment that we had gasoline bottles, and we also have empty bottles that we can fill gasoline into to create Molotov cocktails. And before you're wondering if it delves into a similar mechanic in the Resident Evil remake where it goes into George Romero's zombie rules and that you have to burn the zombie bodies otherwise they keep coming back, no, you don't have to worry about that, but the Molotov cocktails are used for very different means. Primarily, if you remember that gentleman, the elderly man who turned into a leech dude, yeah, that ain't just for show. They're gonna be coming back right in this pot. Basically meaning that if you ever come across another leech zombie, use a Molotov cocktail, set them on fire, and job's a gooding. Similar things also come to account when you get, you know, the grenade launcher with the flame rounds. Bada bing, we do the thing. It's all swings and roundabouts, really. That being said, though, even though you can still take out a lot of the leech zombies, you know, by using regular means, you know, pistol, shotgun, whatever, yeah, there is a bit of a thing to it, because again, the main reason why you want to use the Molotov cocktails is so that you can burn the leeches off the corpse and prevent them from spreading around, because if you take them out by normal means, then the leeches explode and you gotta deal with basically these little pin cushions constantly sapping away health. But there is an avoidance to that, and you will see sometime later. But yeah, in the meantime, we're basically just, getting stuff to Jimmy the Lock, free Billy, and making our way to the back of the train to solve a puzzle to fix the glass to hop the frog on the log in the house that Jack built. I suppose if we're going to be talking about how Resident Evil 0 is structured, it's not going to be quite as linear as the train sequence. I mean, obviously, since you have very limited compartments to explore around with, but I don't know, as an introductory segment, it does a fine enough job trying to label the brass tacks and set everything up as it's supposed to be, at least in terms of getting you used to the core mechanics and how the game flows and functions, but at the same time, though, it just does the job fine, really, which I suppose might be the biggest damning flaw, because, I mean, it is one of the more unique Resident Evil set pieces, and, you know, everything else, but apart from that, it's just kind of, it is what it is, and it just doesn't really have too much else to it. And unfortunately, it does introduce a few pithy mechanics that end up actually kind of influencing the later game, because what we need to free Billy for, in order to get into the back compartment, is so that we can release a valve, as we're going to be seeing right outside the train, and getting a grapple hook. And that grapple hook is basically something that not only takes up 2 item slots, but in turn is also something that, well, basically winds up being the Resident Evil 2 equivalent of the valve puzzle, where you had to constantly take it around and take it to places where you otherwise wouldn't think to need it, but then you realize you gotta go get it, so you gotta go get it from the item box, except we don't have an item box in this case. So basically, we gotta do a roundabout way of dropping items, picking them up, and making sure that we take them to everywhere that we need to go, in much later areas of the game where you think that you wouldn't need them and could otherwise easily grab them from the item box, that we don't have, so basically it just adds more of a pointless commute. Excited yet? Well, yeah, that's pretty much all we have to talk about, really. So, until we get there, I suppose it's apropos that we talk about, you know, some trivia. And I suppose I might as well talk about, let's see, what's relevant. I don't want to do anything spoilerish just yet, but, yeah, initially there was a Jill Sandwich meme t-shirt as DLC. I don't know. I guess people were finally internet savvy enough to finally have, like, all the jokey jokes of the Resident Evil series, like, oh no, he got a hook hand, secure the ballistics, Jill Sandwich, lol, keck. I don't know. I mean, they, like, most times when developers tend to do that sort of thing, they kind of, like, reserve it for, like, you know, trophy names or whatever else, or... I think God of War actually does something similar to that, like, with some of the series memes with Kratos or whatever, like, you know, there's a dumped... whatever. I don't know, it kind of is what it is. I mean, at the risk of playing my cards a little bit too early on the off chance I ever get around to Resident Evil 4, it's, and not to go on too big of a rant here, but I also found that whenever Resident Evil tries to be funny, I don't find that the series is really that good at being comedic. Like, I mean, I only really bring up 4 as an example here, because that's the only real game that I find that specifically goes out of its way to be a parody. Except it's not even a parody of Resident Evil or horror tropes itself, it's just trying to be a spy movie parody sort of thing, so... I mean, hearing Leon going, where they going? Bingo? Just doesn't really gel with me. I mean, granted, I do have a copy of it, but I haven't played the Resident Evil 4 remake yet, which arguably takes things a little bit more seriously, so... I don't know if the Resident Evil 4 remake does anything to improve over anything of the original Resident Evil 4's tone. Which, I mean, again, I know that it is something that a lot of people do like about the game, but, yeah. I mean, to be honest, if you were looking at Resident Evil as purely a comedy sort of thing, I always found that it was funnier as, you know, more unintentional stuff. Like, I mean, again, the whole Jill Sandwich line isn't funny because, you know, lol, bad voice acting. It's funny because they were trying to have a moment of levity, but the voice actor just couldn't deliver on the line properly. Yeah, but anyway, rambles and brambles all over the shop. We finally made it! And yeah, you can go through the little passageway here again, for whatever reason, even though you unlock the door. But whatever, it gives us a unique way to enter and exit a room. Through the crawl space where all the slaves and the rest of the filth crawl through the fucking floor. But anyway, this is pretty much what I was talking about with the outside compartment. Now, basically, this is pretty much the extent of the partner switching mechanic in terms of how it's utilized for puzzles. So again, you see Billy primed right at the switch. You have Rebecca right over there, looking at the hookshot gun. But oh no, we ain't able to grab it. So, yeah, as soon as we're done doing a bit of pish, use Billy to turn the switch, it'll release, and then Rebecca can grab it. So, yeah, it's very simple in its design, very simple in its execution, and to be perfectly honest, there's not really much depth you can really use to expand the partner mechanic. I mean, Resident Evil 5 did actually do a little bit more than this, where you're able to boost Chris or Sheva up, you know, based on partner-specific actions, or, you know, splitting items between each other, but that's really about it. I mean, I suppose while we still have a bit more commuting to do, I might as well go into a little bit of Resident Evil 1 trivia that I might have brought up during the Resident Evil 1 commentary, but, yeah, regardless, but in a lot of earlier versions of Resident Evil 1, I think this might have actually even been either during or a little bit after, you know, the original story treatment, you know, with Beam, Jill, Dewey, and Gelza, but yeah, one of the original treatments, I believe, after the whole first-person thing didn't pan out, it was the idea of having, you know, Chris have a partner character, which in this case would have been Jill following him around, and basically behaving similarly to Resident Evil 0 in some aspects, so yeah, in some way, Resident Evil has always had a fascination of having a partner character with you, even from the very first game, and I suppose that's probably a lot of where the ideas of Resident Evil 0 really came from, the idea to have a partner character with the AI following you around and sort of getting their money's worth out of the original concept, but I don't know, and again, you are sort of seeing some of the ideas here where I'm trying to pull it off by showcasing what Billy can do to save Rebecca. I'm not going to be doing this throughout the entire game, mind you, because again, as I mentioned before, and as you're seeing right here, Rebecca is a bit of a glass cannon, and again, one character dies, it's pretty much game over, so yeah, there's not really too much you can do, and again, if your partner character is attacked in another room, you do get an alert for it, because again, with what Billy explained earlier on about, you know, the whole radio technique, again, if they're in trouble and they're in a room with zombies or whatever, They will call the partner character for help, because again, you'll have Rebecca go, "Billy, help!" and basically you gotta run over there and save your partner character before they die. But yeah, it's, I don't know, it's... I mean, I don't want to say that I dislike the game, because again, it is tried and true Resident Evil. Again, it has its own unique style, it goes back to more of a horror thing. And in terms of its basic Resident Evil functionality, the formula of the tank controls there has been fine to a science at this stage, so... Again, it is basically Resident Evil as you know and love it. It's just that this gimmick will either be, you know, an interesting twist on the formula that'll keep you coming back purely for its uniquity, or otherwise it's just something that, I don't know, becomes a bit of a hindrance. And I don't want to say it's a hurdle that completely ruins the game for me, but there is a bit of a reason why it's a game that I've only played a handful of times, and... I don't know, I mean, the fact that I tend to leave either Billy or Rebecca in a room while doing a lot of the exploring and doing basically everything until I need them for a puzzle or, you know, a boss fight or a specific event, kinda says pretty much everything that you need to know about my thoughts on this game. I mean, again, it's not too big of a downer to make me hate the game or anything, but... I don't know, it's just a small little flaw like that, along with the item box thing, because... Again, I know the whole idea behind, you know, not having the unlimited item box was to make it a bit more, you know, realistic, but at the same time, it's also a gameplay convenience that, I don't know, it just really helps a lot to have it, really. And again, like, I mean, games after Resident Evil 4 tended to have the whole attaché case, or, like, you know, the whole little item crit thing, but in that game it was, and again, like, I mean, while you could say that, you know, Resident Evil 4, 5, and 6 were more action-oriented, having their menus designed like that made sense, because... Again, in Resident Evil 4, and even 5's case, actually, the fact that you were constantly, you know, battling against zombies and, you know, the fact that you were constantly under pressure meant that you were constantly using resources while gaining them by defeating enemies or picking them up as you came across them. So again, like, I mean, running out of inventory and resources, it did kind of make sense within the action-oriented context, and, you know, why getting rid of the item box made sense for that game, because, you know, you were using supplies but gaining new ones regularly, so it didn't become too big of an issue. Why it becomes an issue in Resident Evil 0 is because it's using classic Resident Evil's formula that has you go long stretches of time without collecting items, well, unless you're playing on the easy mode like I am. And yeah, you're either having to drop everything in one room and do, you know, frequent commutes to basically get supplies and replenish yours if they run out, or you're just basically just having to say fuck it and running at it naked in the dark. Which is why I would like to see Rebecca. Yeah. Feeling a little leechy and my peachy. Hey, you know, a little fun fact about the leeching sound there, and I don't know what I'm trying to fucking sound like Cliff fucking Clavin or whatever, but, yeah, leeches are abound the train, and, as I mentioned beforehand, they pretty much function similarly to, well, the Phantom Babies from Devil May Cry, where they'll basically try and sap little bits of health from you, but again, you can pretty much just run around and squish them, so no harm, no foul until you get to zombies, which basically become evil leech zombie people that'll basically trying to attack you. They're not any more powerful than regular zombies. I mean, they're a little bit more bullet spongy, but at the same time, though, there's a bit of a specific way in which you can take out the leech zombies. Just keep on shooting at them, and basically when you shoot them enough, they begin to bloat a little bit, and then they will explode leeches all abound that'll try and sap your health. They do have an attack similar to the Bandersnatchers from Code Veronica, where they will try and, like, flip out their floppy arms at you and try and attack you that way, so I guess perhaps the offshoot of the Tyrant Project in the Bandersnatch was possibly attributed towards James Marcus as opposed to Edward Ashford, but I guess that's neither here nor there in this case. Anyway, the, fun fact about Cliff Clavin, that is to say, the leech sound effects, which I have on my handy-dandy tangents, was that, again, if you're interested in sound design, hamburger cooking sounds was used for the sounds of the leeches squelching about the place. And again, like, I mean, it's very robust stuff that does really come to make me appreciate a lot of sound design, because, I mean, when you look at it visually, you wouldn't think that that's the sort of sound that it would make, but at the same time, when, you know, you take it purely audibly, and, you know, you listen to the sound of hamburger meat cooking on a grill or whatever, it does make perfect sense and does sound like a lot of leeches just sort of squelching around the place. And, like, I mean, this stuff even goes back to, like, to a lot of early film techniques in the sense that, you know, you saw, like, you know, the sounds of, like, bacon cooking was also used to substitute rain sound effects. Which, again, it's just fucking crazy, but, like, also has that sort of, like, analog ingenuity that just makes me smile, man. Or, like, how, like, a lot of early sci-fi films capture a lot of laser sound effects by, like, having, like, some isolated, like, little springs and coils trapped in, like, a small chamber. You know, they whack against it with, like, you know, a drumstick or a brush or something, and it creates, like, this twanging sort of sound that sounds like a laser going off. I don't know, like, I mean, this might sound like a very audiophile, geeky kind of thing, but at the same time, it's... I just can't get enough of that, man. It's incredibly sweet.
This way. Yeah.
But yeah, that's, yeah, again, you don't have to go to the menu in order to switch between Rebecca and Billy. You can pretty much just press commands on the fly and, have them do their little thing. And, since we have both the R-Rob, or Ross, gold and silver snakes to unlock the briefcase, we get the card to unlock the thing to get to the front of the train, and, at long last, we can finally fulfill our dreams of driving a steam engine. Actually, is it drive or pilot? Well, no, you're not necessarily piloting. I don't know, what is the correct tense for, boating and training? Or, I mean, training? No, I mean, boating and train driving? Well, I mean, you're not really driving, it's on a track, so it's more like... commuting? Railroading? Fuck it, whatever. Enjoy the cutscene that, delves into Resident Evil 2.
This is Delta Team, we have gained control of the train, over.
Understood.
This does not make any sense. How was the T-virus leaked? And why did it contaminate both the lab and the mansion, as well as a train almost 3 miles away?
That's irrelevant. We must make sure no knowledge of this gets out. Destroy the train. Completely. How far away are you from the nearest branch line?
About 10 minutes to...
What happened?
Oh, those poor soldiers, killed by cooking hamburgers. But yeah, this does also delve into, well, probably the biggest revelation as to how the T-virus got leaked in the first place. Yeah. It seems that that mysterious Buchanan-looking gentleman in the opera-singing robe was the one who leaked the T-virus and basically caused the whole T-virus outbreak to begin with, so... yeah, slight bit of retconning from the mansion incident where it was implied that Wesker did the whole thing, but... yeah, seems events kinda spiraled out of control more than we suspected. But we got bigger problems than that.
The train will either derail or crash. I gotta stop this thing.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter who you choose to go to the back of the train with here in terms of how, you know, how you stop the train. It's pretty much just an option so that you can unlock, you know, unlockable cutscenes and CG intros of Rebecca and Billy doing a thing and vice versa, so, yeah, pick whichever one you fancy.
I'll go over to the back deck and manipulate the control panel for the brake. You stay here and apply the brake when ready.
Okay. Rebecca!
Huh?
Don't screw up, okay?
I won't.
My god, Rebecca's sexy in that outfit. Oh, sorry, did I say the loud part quiet and the quiet part loud? But yeah, basically this is the... we gotta stop the train with a initial self-destruct sequence. Times are wasting and, yeah, this is also around about the point where I called it quits on my normal mode test playthrough because, yeah, I was running low on supplies and basically because of the fact that Rebecca's a bit of a glass cannon, I found out that she was easily overwhelmed because despite the fact that we pretty much killed all the zombies on the train, now the place is flooded with the fuckers and because of arbitrary difficulty, yeah, I pretty much wound up dying. I thought, you know what, fuck this, I'm probably not gonna go back to Resident Evil 0 unless I give it a fucking review or something. And basically I just sort of decided, fuck it, it's easy mode, I'll wear the cone of shame and fuck off and do whatever. But anyway, there is also another reason why I chose Rebecca specifically, and this is more to do with her star's compatriot, Edward, cut down in the prime of his youth, with such memorable quotes as, That bastard. Billy killed that guy. I mean, to kind of cut into that note, I mean, it's kind of a shame that we never get to meet more STARS Bravo members. I mean, we will be seeing one more, but I guess the idea is that most of them went into, you know, the Arclight Mansion for Resident Evil 1 so they could die, but... I don't know. Enjoy the sad cutscene.
Edward! No! Stop! Don't come any closer!
You know, this probably would have meant a little bit more if we actually got to know Edward better than what we did, but... yeah, I mean, I don't know, like, I mean, maybe if the game wanted to introduce a partner mechanic, maybe have him team up with Rebecca and, you know, try and hunt down Billy, only to get bitten by zombies towards the end of the train sequence, and then, I don't know, forge an alliance with Billy, you know, have the whole mistrust arc mainly stem from Edward rather than Rebecca. I don't know. I mean, I just would have liked to have gotten a little bit more from STARS Bravo team, you know, so we maybe could have gotten a glimpse of, you know, Kenneth or Enrico or whatever before, you know, their eventual demise in Resident Evil 1 and kind of make us care a little bit more. I mean, again, I know the game does have to sort of get into the mindset of, you know, introducing its own villains and, you know, the backstory behind the Raccoon City arc of the Resident Evil series, but I don't know. Yeah, it would be nice to get a little bit more background on our characters, really. Now, when it comes to shutting down the train, you pretty much have two terminals right at the back. And this involves using a little bit of maths, because again, as you can see, well, okay, after we use the card, you're going to basically be seeing a number that you have to match up to on the keypad. Now, obviously, Capcom, knowing that not a lot of people are Resident Evil mathematics whiz kids, basically, there's an easy way to solve this. Basically, if you want to get to the correct answer, basically just put in something like, you know, 9, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, so you'll eventually get your number of 36. And this also works similarly when you get to Billy's segment, so don't worry, if you're getting up to this point and you're panicking that you don't know how to solve this problem, just basically think in terms of your multiplication tables. It should not lead you wrong unless you're completely fucking stupid! Which I am, because I'm fucking stupid when it comes to maths, which was my worst subject in school. But that's neither here nor there in this case, so on that note, I am Solidus-Skully, keep a new metal, and well, to be honest, if I was in this situation in real life, I would probably be dead on the exploding train or try and jump off and break my limbs. Ugh, ignore me leg benders, but I'll catch you next time and see you later. Goodbye, lad.
If you manage the one I abhor, I need a minute to eliminate forever what the everyday bullshit that I did you have done. Your impossible ego fuck is like a megalomaniacal jab on my jaw. You fucking touch me, I will rip you apart. I'll reach in and take a bite out of that shit you